There's definitely been times in my life where I felt lost, kind of questioning, am I running in the direction that I want to go in? Is this right? What if this and what if that? Am I on the right path and is this the direction and where I want to be? And it's been really interesting because I've come across different people in my life, whether it's through friends, family, people that I might have worked with, or just complete strangers that we might have just connected on, whether it's, in the moment and the time that I meet them. But it's really interesting because there has been a lot of times where I felt like I was pushing myself forward, propelling myself in this direction, thinking that, maybe we just keep going that direction, everything will be okay, everything will fall into place. But I kind of felt this emptiness within myself where it was almost like, hold on, even though we're running to this direction and we think that everything's going to be okay, it just felt like it wasn't going to be the case. And deep down, I felt like that was something that I knew, but I didn't accept because I thought to myself, if we look around, we look at other people, it's almost as if they've got their lives all sorted out for them. And maybe, they've got it better than me, or, we always kind of think the grass is greener on the other side. But I came to really realize when I looked at everyone else going, we're all in the same boat, but we all don't see that sometimes. And there was a part of me that always sometimes just reminded myself to just keep pushing forward, keep doing it. It's going to give you something back in return, but that's not the case. And instead I just started asking myself, I paused. I would reflect and think, hold on, is this what Ruth wants? Is this what I need? And who am I doing this for? And that kind of cracked it for me, thinking, hold on, forget everyone else. What is it that I myself want? And when I started shifting that mindset of mine to think, hold on, instead of actually just running into a direction just for the sake of running there, thinking, is this direction I want to run in? What does it mean for me? So I started journaling, and that really helped me because, if you were to talk to my little self, younger self, I'd probably laugh in your face and think, journaling, really? How is that going to help me in a way? And for me, journaling helped me because I could actually offload my thoughts onto paper. Whether it's through virtual, where I was doing it through my phone, or I do it physically, it's something that's tangible so I can actually go back and look at that. And it takes everything out of the brain so I'm not constantly running, unconsciously or subconsciously thinking, okay, X, Y, Z, calculate 1 + 1 = 2. Because our body and our mind holds on to all of that stuff, believe it or not, because, when you go to sleep sometimes and you have nights where you don't get really nice sleep and it's just not there, because your mind is just racing. Your mind actually doesn't ever switch off. It's constantly running in the background. So it helped me offload those thoughts. But also, say in a week's time, I was thinking about, I feel like I'm not ready to do something, or I feel like, is that really what I wanted to do? And I could look back at that, and it was something tangible where, I had all my raw, complete thoughts and feelings written down. So I could go back and look at that and think, hold on, does that resonate with me today? And if it does, let's go back and let's think about it. So I could almost kind of compartmentalize my thoughts in a way where it's kind of been put away, but I could always revisit whenever I wanted, as opposed to it living rent-free in my head. And talking to myself, as crazy as it sounds, I talk to myself in different ways. Whether it's through out loud, like how I'm doing right now in front of a camera, or, if I'm cooking, just thinking out loud and sorting my thoughts out, because it's almost like talking to myself so I can kind of make things make sense. And everything didn't have to make sense either. It could be like, I had work today, came back, I just felt like I was low energy. Why did I feel like I had low energy? Why does that matter? Does it really matter? And I have conversations in my head as well where I talk to myself. And this really helped me in time. It kind of came a bit more naturally. And learning to kind of sit in stillness. Instead of like drowning out the noises by watching a TV series or watching a movie or something like that after coming home from work and kind of brain running that way. Yes, we're human. We have our days ourselves when we want to just sit down, just watch some, trash TV. But I learn sometimes to just put 5 minutes down in the evenings, whether it's in the first thing in the morning or in the evening, just to sit down and just think about, being still, really, really present and sifting through the thoughts, or just meditating through breath work, but also asking myself, what does this all mean from me? So you can kind of see that we're going back to the journaling thing, but it's in a different form where I'm actually asking myself in the current present moment and we're physically being present. And I came to really realize this is such a common theme because, you know, I think where this all kind of stems from are from different kind of areas. Society is kind of compartmentalized everything, where it's kind of like we don't need to follow everything to the T because it's almost as if our lives have been paved out for us. What I mean by that is, you know, we go to school and we're kind of measured against each other. There is this test that we have to do. You have to study for it, and you have to pass, or you have to hit a certain mark for it, and you kind of get graded on that. And then it's the same in, like, you know, when you work, depending on where you work, you're kind of graded too. So if you work in the corporate world, in an office, for example, you've got your KPIs that you need to meet. You have all these goals that you have to meet personally as well. Personal and also linked to the business or the company that you might work for. So everything has kind of been measured for you, and it's almost like okay, once you get that goal, there's another goal. And once you're done with that goal, there's another one. And it doesn't really ever stop, but we ourselves need to kind of ground ourselves sometimes to think, hold on, does this align with me? And it's really super interesting because, you know, what if the system actually isn't broken and it's just not built for individuals or individuality? Because, you know, social comparison is a survival instinct. It's our tribal wiring where, you know, we kind of compare ourselves to other people. But internalized like shoulds become guilt traps because it's, should we do this? Or someone is expecting this from me. But I think we should forget what other people and all these external factors are kind of coming from, whether it's through society, whether it's through the educational system, whether it's through your friends, family, or even some stranger. Why does their voice matter so much to you? And we think that questioning equals failure because but it's not. It's actually the first step to freedom, because when you start to actually question everything, and it sounds a bit contradicting because in the beginning you're kind of stuck in this initial questioning spiral where you kind of think, I feel like something's not right. And what about someone over there that's doing this compared to what I'm doing? So you are questioning it, but shift the question. Instead of it being to someone else, shift those questions to yourself, which is, what am I doing? What am I really doing? And who am I trying to impress? And if we were to take all the people out of the picture and everyone else, what would you be doing from tomorrow if you didn't have to think about any other external factors such as other people? And here's the truth. You're not here to perform a version of life that looks good on paper. The reality is that we're here to live, we're here to explore, we're here to experience things, to feel and to connect with other people. There's no right and wrong way to live life, but if you're living life on autopilot, I think you're wasting your time. And that's the funniest thing, because at the same time we can start to sit here and spiral about these things, right? Because we don't want to waste time. But instead we end up wasting time by sitting there and thinking and questioning all these things about what someone else is doing or what someone expects from us. One of my favorite analogies that I love to use is, okay, think of a beverage that you'd love to drink today. It could be coffee, it could be tea, it could be matcha. I don't know if you're into alcohol and you like fireballs, for instance, or you like gin and tonic. Whatever it is, think of that, right? There might have been a time, I'm sure, in your life where you've loved a beverage to death. And maybe a week from then, a month from then, or even a year from then, you might think, okay, today I love coffee. But a week from now, or even a year from now, you start to shift and your taste buds acquire tea. But you prefer tea instead of coffee now. It's not to say you were incorrect about not loving coffee. It's just that sometimes things change and you get different perspectives. Whether it's someone showing you, you know, a tea shop that it's got such a strong background in teas that you hadn't actually known about, that you could actually have such a variety to look at. Because coffee isn't just one type of coffee, and same with tea. You don't just have one type of tea. There's a whole different variety there, but sometimes we don't know ourselves until someone else has shown us, or we go out there and we explore. You know, whether we use Google Maps and, you know, we try and find all these specific places. But thing is that, you know, at the end of the day, life is not fully put into a box where this is how life is supposed to be lived. You know, we think about it, or it's kind of like, you know, you come into this world up to the age of 18 or 21, depending on where you are in the world, you become an adult, right? And then it's expected that once you leave school, you go straight into university. You need to know exactly what it is that you want to do. And then from university, you need to find a job in the same field that you studied and, you know, specialized in. And then from there, you need to find someone, have, you know, a relationship, get married, have kids, have a home, And it's almost as if like life has kind of been paved out for you, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it in that order. What if you don't even want any of that stuff, or you don't even want some of those things? But what people end up doing is they end up spiraling and thinking, but you know, my friend over there from school or my friend over there at work is having kids. Maybe I need to have kids, you know, but actually, do you really want kids? Nothing against anyone out there that wants to have kids. It's just more trying to shine the light here that it's like, you know, someone over here might want something and someone else over here might not want it. But forget what those people want. What is it that you want? And I've really come to realize that because myself, so for example, I was in the corporate world for quite a few years. My last job was in the financial space. And it was super interesting because I had tried to change teams for such a long time. I really wanted to get into the customer experience space. And I had spoken to lots of people. I had started to get myself exposed to different teams and get mentor experience as well, and also hands-on experience where I could build up my resume. So it's almost as if like there was a bit of a system there where you almost had to tick these boxes for people to kind of see value in you. But I thought to myself, hold on, there are different ways to go about this. I don't have to just tick those boxes. I can go out there and create relationships and talk to people and, you know, build relationships that way and showcase that I can do the job. So by the time a role came up, I could interview it and I could actually have a bit more of a relationship with the people, and I had a bit of a head start versus someone else that was maybe applying externally. I had a bit of a head start because I was internal. So I knew exactly how the systems work. I knew how teams functioned. I knew the people that were hiring and what they were looking for, but I also got to get a bit of a taste of the team. But the company that I previously worked for was going through a massive restructure at the time. So they lost a bit of budget for the role that I had applied for, but I thought to myself at the time too, if I actually get this role, is it really what I want? Because personally for me, I've always been very people orientated. I love people. I love understanding human behaviors and what makes people drive and tick themselves, but also, you know, understand them at such a deep level and how that would reflect from a customer perspective. You know, that would also create such a win-win situation for both myself and the company that I worked at. And I really thought about this and I thought to myself, you know, Ruth, from such a young age, from as young as I can kind of remember, I always thought to myself that I wanted to run my own business or work for myself. And what ended up happening is that I got made redundant in my role that I was at the time. And I got an extension because I moved into a different role where it was actually at top level. So I became an executive assistant in that team that I wanted to go for. So I actually watched everything kind of uncover, and that gave me 6 months to kind of really think about everything and go, is this what I want? Does it align with me and my values? And if we were to strip away everything else, everyone else, including the money and the salary, yes, we need money to pay the bills and keep the lights on. But is this really something that's going to make me jump out of bed and go, is this what I want to do? And that's where I found my passion and love for being a mindset coach, because I can help people, you know, similar to whoever it is that's watching this video behind there. I know that we can relate on this because, you know, we're humans at the end of the day. We live our lives. We all have similar problems, but they're all shaped and maybe bundled up in different external packages, such as, you know, this vase of flowers next to me, right? It could look like flowers, but to someone else that might not look flowers. There are different ways or tools that you can use to help yourself if you feel like you can resonate with being stuck, because I know I've been there myself. So journaling definitely helps because you can utilize this to get your thoughts out. And you don't have to do it every single day. I know I don't journal every day. I journal when I get certain thoughts that keep coming up and I know that I need to understand them. So what I like to do is kind of observe them first. Once I observe them, then I watch them and understand and question it, you know, and then I navigate. So that makes sense to me personally, but I know that that might not work for someone else. But if you give that a go, you'll find what works for you. Start having conversations with yourself, whether it's out loud like this or in your own head. It might sound really stupid and feel a bit silly to start with, but in time you'll get better at it. You feel more comfortable too, because remember that you live with yourself 365 days a year. There will never be one day where you get a holiday from yourself. So no one is ever going to know you better than yourself. So start learning to understand you. And then reflection without panic. without thinking, oh my God, the world's going to end. And what if I don't have my life sorted by the time I'm 40? And what if I don't have this? And what if I don't have that? Because do those things really matter? Because if it does, then you have the power to make it work and to make it happen. Don't use those excuses because they're shackles that you use on your own ankles. Because you're not lost. You're just putting yourself in a spot where you're peeling back those layers and understanding your own core. And that's not a setback. That's growth. That's life waiting for you. And it isn't one that impresses everyone. It's the one that feels like home to you and you only. Remember that.